Sometimes that's trouble because then you have to go back and compare. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this meeting of the Syracuse Planning Commission. We were about to begin our meeting for this evening with our public hearings and other business. However, before we do that, we have one item of housekeeping business to take care of, namely action on the minutes of our meeting earlier this month. Minutes have been distributed. If there's a motion for action on those minutes.
Move approval of the minutes of May 6, 2024.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Discussion on the motion before us? There's no discussion. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Our May 6 minutes are approved. And we will move into the public hearing portion of our meeting. Just by way of introduction for anyone who's unfamiliar with our process, as each application is announced by a member of the planning team, we ask that the applicant or their representative come to the podium, provide their name and address for the record, and then a brief summary of the application involved. Following questions from the commission members, we will invite members of the public who wish to speak in favor of the application to do so. And similarly, we will invite members of the public who wish to speak in opposition to the application to do that as well. Where comments are made in opposition, we will invite the applicant to return to the podium and address comments made in opposition. Those making comments, either for or against the project, we ask you to hold your comments to 3 minutes in length. And with that, I think we are ready to begin, although we should make a public announcement about the one project that is postponed, in case someone is here for that. And
yeah, the first special permit under old business on the agenda, it's SP-24-06. It's a special use permit for 1133-37 South Salina Street. That is postponed. We're working with the applicant. We think there's a path forward with them for an item based on an amendment change that's on the agenda tonight, so we're kind of working through that.
so no action on that this evening, and it will appear in our agenda when progress has been made and it's a pathway forward has been identified.
Yeah, and I do have one other request to the commission members. The last item on under new business, it's a special use permit for 612 Wolf Street, requesting that we move that after the Gateway project under old business. So we would look at that as our third item this evening. SP-24-11.
Okay, any other updates to the agenda?
Nope, that'll be it. If ready, we can, I'll introduce the first old business item, which is the text amendments to the zoning ordinance, Z-28-68. Just as a summary, during the May 6th Planning Commission public hearing, there was deliberation. We also performed seeker and voted on a negative declaration. Since the city held a public work session meeting in these chambers, it was broadcast live on YouTube, and it was open to the public, where we went through a formal review of all of the ordinance text amendments, and that was held on May 22nd.
Okay, and that brings us to this evening. So with the material before us, Are there any further updates in the aftermath of the work session that was held last week? Nothing new to report?
Nope, no changes.
Okay. And for commission members all of whom participated in the work session last week, as well as the previous planning commission meeting held earlier this month, further comment or additional questions in the aftermath of the work session from last week?
No questions, thank you.
We reviewed, as Jake indicated, we reviewed in great detail all the amendments at the work session. We had questions answered, points clarified. So if there are no further questions regarding the set of amendments that have been proposed, and since seeker action was determined at the last meeting, it'd be appropriate at this point for a motion from the body to act upon these amendments. And there are changes in various articles, but the commission is at liberty to act upon all the amendments together this evening if it wishes. If there are questions or issues with specific proposed amendments, those can be addressed singly before moving forward. Otherwise, is there a motion for the text amendments to the 5 articles?
I move approval of the text amendments as presented in Staff Report Z 2868 and the accompanying text document for the text changes as presented.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Discussion on the motion before us for the text amendments to rezone Syracuse. If not, we can proceed to a vote. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, please indicate by saying nay. Any abstentions? So the proposed text amendments are adopted or approved, and we will move on to our next old business item.
Back on the agenda again, this is labeled as the Syracuse Gateway Apartment Project. There are 2 companion pieces. First is a major site plan review, MASPR-24-17, for various addresses along East Fayette and East Washington Street. It also includes a re-subdivision, R-24-28, owner Chris Geiger, applicant Ben Harrell with CHA Consulting. This lies within the MX5 zone district. And Brian Bouchard is here on behalf of CHA.
Yep. Thank you. Good evening. Name is Brian Bouchard with CHA Consulting. So we're the project engineer working on behalf of the applicant and developer, Chris Geiger, who's also here with us. And just so the board can recall, we did go through all of the various project specifics, which include not only the site plan review application, but its companion piece to consolidate 6 existing parcels under a re-subdivision application. And we went through all the various project details at our May 6th meeting that we had with you earlier in the month. And we also had the public comment period, which was open and closed. And then we sort of paused procedurally while we awaited the expiration of the 30-day lead agency notification window, which this board couldn't take action on because of. But that has since passed, so the board should be in a position to take action with respect to seeker this evening. And then the second was that we were referred to the Syracuse Landmark Preservation Board because although this is new construction that meets all of the zoning requirements within the MX5 district, it is proximate to the existing Zion Church, which is a historic building. So we presented the project details to the Syracuse Landmark Preservation Board at their last meeting and went through all the various design aspects that have been implemented and employed within the project to respect the context of that historic building, which they were largely satisfied with, but they did have some additional recommendations that they asked us to address, specifically on the corner of the building that is adjacent to the Zion Church, which included some very minor changes to bring a notch out of that building to further reduce its massing and almost mimic, you can see on this graphic here, mimic what is happening on the street corner, which is a reduction in massing over the intersection, and bringing that portion of the building in line almost with, I guess we'll call it the steeple or the appendage that sticks off the top of the church. So we changed the materiality here. We actually took some bedrooms away to reduce that down to actually the third floor. And then we also changed some of the interior building materials to make sure that the context of that church still stands proud as it does today, even with the new development that's happening around it. And my understanding is that Kate Atwater with the Syracuse Landmark Preservation Board did confirm that the changes that we made, although minor, were to the satisfaction of those Landmark Preservation Board comments for the meeting that we attended. So with that, we don't believe there's any outstanding comments through staff. We've checked with staff in terms of department reviews. We didn't have any open comments from the commission that we were left with, but these sort of two procedural items we've completed since the time that we met with you last, and would be open to any other questions or comments you might have, or completing the procedure that we need here.
And no further changes made other than those done in response to the Landmark Preservation Board's feedback, correct?
Correct. Yep.
Thank you. Commission members?
I have two questions. I know we talked about these briefly before, but I just wanted to follow up to make sure I'm clear. So the first question is, we got 5 different types of units in the building, residential units. So for the affordable housing component, how will they be distributed? Is it if someone applies for any one of the units and then they qualify, they get whatever that unit may be, if that's what they want? Is that the intention?
That is correct. So some of this is obviously worked out through neighborhood and business development. Our commitment to the project meets what is required for the approval letter that we got from NBD, which is that the minimum number of units, which is 12% of the units, will meet the 80% AMI target level for income, and that these units would be distributed amongst the building and would not be of lesser quality unit. From there, I don't think we can pinpoint exactly specifying which units are designated as affordable, because people's income will change over time, and certain people may have different needs. For instance, there may be more of this income level that would be heavily weighted toward the 1 and 2 bedroom style units, and we wouldn't want to leave somebody out just because there's a larger unit that may be available for that income level. So the qualification of it is certainly left up to the departments, and we intend to meet every intent of that ordinance as we've gotten their approval for.
Okay, great, thanks. The other question, I know, again, we touched on this briefly before, but now that we have the 2 environmental studies on the property, so there was some contaminated soil discovered and some issues in the old gas station building itself and in the soil around there. I didn't see anything at all about the tanks or any of that. Now, you may not know yet what needs to be done, but I'm just kind of curious if you have any richer understanding of that.
So what we have
process.
completed, and so as civil engineer, I am slightly disconnected from the environmental radiation. It's a very complex, but our office has completed those reports. Those findings are ongoing. There will be a process to permit this site through the state, and actually this evening with your approval, or should you grant the approval, that will allow us to actually move this project forward to that next step where we can actually enter it into the brownfield cleanup program to qualify for some of the financial relief associated with the actual cleanup that needs to take place. But beyond tonight, there is a process with New York State DEC to which we are held to a high standard as far as the cleanups, both interior to the buildings, investigating for things like those tanks and those closure permits that will need to happen. And then also how you deal with the excavation and the soils on site. There will be a comprehensive site management plan that is reviewed and approved by DEC before any groundbreaking could take place. So it's definitely a permit item that's, that we're tracking as far as the project schedule and financing too.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So as indicated earlier, the public comment had been closed previously, and the 30-day window for the secret notification has run its course, and the commission is now in a position to evaluate the seeker process. And would you, as you usually do, lead us through that process for this project?
Sure. This one is a type 1 action, so it's a little bit more involved, as you know, and it's a big project, so we're going to walk through very analytically. Okay, so the board has given this a thorough review. As you know, I assume you're familiar with the part 1 that is found in your packet, and the part,
Just for a moment, there's someone asking a question. I wonder if maybe one of the staff could find out. We closed public comment, but there's someone with a question in the gallery here.
you can vote to reopen public comment.
Right, but I'm saying, we may not, but I'm just saying there's somebody who had a hand raised and I didn't know.
Sir, could you clarify what you,
It might be a question staff can answer, or he
Yeah,
can answer
to-
to the...
Yes, I'm Pastor Darren Jaime. I'm the building owner of the PCD. We own the property right next that that's in question, and we just had a couple of questions and concerns we wanted to bring forward to have addressed by the Planning Commission and/or the engineer.
Again, the commission's free to vote whether to reopen public comment and entertain those questions.
okay, what's the sense of the body in terms of reopening the public comment? We can put a pause on our seeker procedure for the moment. If commission member would like to move that we reopen public comment on this.
I'll move to reopen.
Okay, thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Discussion? All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? So, sir, if you just give your name and address for the record, and then your comment or your question, whatever it may be.
Certainly, Pastor Darren Jaime, 2306 South Salina Street, owner of and president of the PCDC, owner of the building at 711 East Fayette Street, the building that's next, the church that's actually being built around it. Apologize that we did not make the public comment portion, but got information pretty much and saw it through the newspaper. And we have just a couple of concerns. I'm not saying that I'm against, just want to have a couple of concerns addressed. Number one was that I wanted to get some clarity because with the new building, it looks like it'll be built about 8 feet from the west wall of the church. And with the west wall of the church, we're concerned about the foundations, was you install foundations about the construction on that. And also it's listed as a historic site. There's a portion of the application where it says that 711 East Fayette Street is listed on the National Register of Historic Places. It's eligible for it's on page 10, it says it's eligible for National Register listing. It is on the National Register, and we just wanted to make sure that that was clarified and also just to find out some information with regards to dealing with the foundation, being that if you're building so close to the church, how that would be impacting the existing structure.
Okay, thank you. We will invite the applicant's representative to address those several points if you're able to do so.
Sure, happy to. So obviously, as I touched on maybe too briefly, we did visit with the Syracuse Landmark Preservation Board. Not that the church is actually on the property, but it was a referral to make sure that the design and aesthetic fits contextually within the surroundings based on the standards that the Historic Preservation Board are held to. So acknowledge, yes, we do know that it is a listed building, and that is why the city and the zoning staff referred us as a courtesy to the Syracuse Landmark Preservation Board. In terms of site construction, obviously there'll be foundations that are constructed along the building wall. We're still in the design phase of how those foundations will be constructed. There is no basement level to this particular building, and I can reference another one that is soon to start construction, which is 910 Madison, which is another historic temple, actually, to which we are quite literally affixing the new 6 to 7 story building to it. And there are precautions that need to be made to make sure that foundation construction and its disturbances don't trespass property lines. But also building directly up against a historic structure. There's construction techniques that will accommodate the installation of the foundation without any disturbance to off-site foundations, whether it is a historic, church in this case, or if it's somebody's single-family home, making sure that the way either piles are driven or foundations are constructed, there wouldn't be any lateral movement of the earth or any vibrations that would affect a historic structure. In other cases, there's monitoring, things that can be done to measure those types of levels within the ground, in which case, if there's triggers for it, the construction equipment can stop and make sure that they're doing things appropriately. But certainly in the construction industry, there are ways to make sure that there's no disturbance off the site for foundation construction.
Okay, thank you for the additional information
Sure.
on this.
So Brian, I just want to confirm, the Preservation Board, Landmark Preservation Board in the review was aware that it's listed as on the National Register,
Yes.
correct?
Correct.
Okay, just want to confirm that. And we're saying here tonight that we are committed to preserving the wall, up the west wall, I believe the pastor referred to, and its foundation in the construction process, and it will meet all of our required setbacks
Correct.
from the structure, from the church.
Also correct.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure we
Thank you.
all were on the same page.
Yep, understood.
Yeah, and it was the Preservation Board's recommendation that resulted in design changes to the
Specifically, it
height
was,
to-
yes.
to match the level of the church.
That's exactly correct, yep.
Thank you.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, so we'll close public comment on this project again, and we'll return to our seeker review. We know it's detailed, it's a big project, but whatever time it takes, we'll commit to that.
Okay. Everything that I'm going to go through with you can be found in your packet as well. And first, I'll ask you if you're familiar with the long form FEAF, that's part 1. It's in your packet on page 80. That is the portion of the, seeker documents that it's filled out by the applicant. Have you all reviewed that?
Yes.
Okay. Excuse me. All right, I'm going to walk you through the part 2 now. I have one. It's the one night I didn't bring water, right? The first, this is, as I've told you before, an issue spotting exercise. We're looking for no impact or moderate to large impacts, and just because one of these might be ticked, it doesn't necessarily mean that, excuse me, that the impact is something that's actionable under seeker. All right, so question number 1 in the part 2 of the FEAF is the action will involve, whether the proposed action may involve construction on or physical alteration of the land surface of the proposed site. And on your behalf, staff has filled this out, and they marked this one no. And for each of the subcategories, A through H, they also indicated no or small impact, and I'm going to walk you through that a little bit. The project's unlikely to involve construction on, and again, this is in your packet, starting on page 95, but for the benefit of the public, I'm going to walk through this as quickly as possible. The project's highly unlikely to involve construction on land where the depth of the water table is less than 3 feet. The ED2 or E2 states the water depth of the water table is 7 feet at this site. So it will also not involve the use of groundwater or septic system. The property doesn't contain slopes that are more than 10%. And the average depth of the bedrock on the project site is greater than 18 feet. So it's unlikely to encounter bedrock during construction. The project will not include the removal of any natural material from the property. Again, this is a project in an already developed urban environment and redevelopment on a brownfield site. This question Part D is to explore whether any mining is proposed to take place, and that's not part of this operation. The construction is anticipated to last for 2 years. Again, this is construction in an existing urban environment, which has a much higher ambient noise level than might be found in the suburbs or in a rural area. So we've designated this as no or small impact. The project will require a stormwater pollution prevention plan addressing whether there'll be increased erosion or disturbed vegetation, and it's not located within a coastal erosion hazard area, not anywhere close. Question number 2, the proposed action we're asking, will the proposed action result in the modification or destruction of or inhibit access to any unique or unusual landforms on the site? There are no designated national or no designated unusual or unique landforms on the site, cliffs, dunes, minerals, fossils, or caves, and none listed on the DEC website. So the answer to this is no. There will be no or a small impact may occur. Number 3, the proposed action, we are asking whether the proposed action may affect one or more wetlands or other surface water bodies. The action will not affect any wetland or surface water body. It will not, it's not located in proximity to surface water or groundwater, and the applicant will be required to abide by the SWIP, which would pertain to any erosion caused by the construction. So again, for number 3, staff proposes that the answer to the question is no, no impact. Question number 4, whether the proposed action will result in new or additional use of groundwater or may have a potential to introduce contaminants into the groundwater or an aquifer. Staff has proposed an answer of no. This will not result in any new or additional use of groundwater. Again, this is redevelopment of formerly built-out environment in an urban environment. The property will have access to public water, and it will be used for residential development, which is unlikely to introduce any contaminants into the ground or into the aquifer. Question number 5, the proposed action, will it result in development on land subject to flooding? The answer is no. Proposed by staff, this property is not located in a designated floodway or within the 100-year or 500-year floodplain. The project will have a stormwater drainage management system. Again, staff's recommendation is no. Question number 6, impacts on air. Will the proposed action include a state-regulated air emission source? The answer is no. This project will not be include a state-regulated air emission source and will not require any federal air or emission permits. The construction will not cause any air impacts. It's regular construction in an urban environment. The applicant does intend to use a temporary electric hookup as soon as possible to reduce or eliminate the need for generators, and the best management practices for that is to spray the area to keep dust and dirt from flying up and affecting the ambient air quality. Staff has proposed an answer of no to that question. Question number 7, will the proposed action result in a loss of flora or fauna? There are no threatened or endangered species of special concern or any conservation action needed for the proposed action, nor will any habitats of any species be impacted by the action. There are no natural landmarks on the property. This is, again, construction in an existing urban environment, in fact, on a brownfield property. Staff proposes that the answer to this is no impacts. Question number 8, will the proposed action impact agricultural resources? It will have no impact on agricultural resources. This is located in an urban area. Question number 9, will the land use of the proposed action, if the land use of the proposed actions are obviously different from or are in sharp contrast to current land use patterns between the proposed project and a scenic or aesthetic resource. Staff again proposes no, that there is no impact on aesthetic resources. The proposed use is similar to the current land uses in the area, and it's not located in close proximity to any scenic or aesthetic resources. On to question 10, impact on historic or archaeological resources. The proposed action may occur in or adjacent to a historic or archaeological resource. The answer to this question is yes, there will be an impact, but it is unlikely to have a potentially significant impact on the historic or archaeological resources. And as you know, this project was already reviewed by the Syracuse Landmark Preservation Board, and they did not have any recommendations for the project. It is near a historic building, which we've already discussed tonight, and it is listed on the National Register. And there are also other eligible sites nearby, including the U-Haul building and Syracuse University Reed Hall and Spazend, the Parkview Hotel, and it's immediately adjacent to the People's African Methodist Episcopal Zion Church. There have been discussions with the church to mitigate the massing of the project, which the applicant has implemented so as not to negatively impact the historic character and to provide a neutral background behind the church. We've talked about the impact of possible impacts on the foundation of the church caused by vibration or construction of the foundation of the new structures, and the applicant has indicated the mitigation measures that they will take for that as well. So to the maximum extent possible, the project has mitigated any potential significant negative impacts to the church. It's not adjacent to the other historic structures in the vicinity. So while the answer to this question is yes, there will be an impact, we're going to look at the specifics, which I've kind of gone over, of A through E, and that is, will the proposed action occur wholly or partially within a substantially contiguous to any building's archaeological site, which is listed on the National Register? It is, but there will be no or a small impact. B, the proposed action may occur wholly or partially within or substantially contiguous to an area designated as sensitive for archaeological sites on the New York State Historic Preservation Office Archaeological Site Survey. The answer is there will be no or a small impact may occur. The proposed action may wholly or partially within or substantially contiguous to an archaeological site, not included on the New York SHPO inventory. To our knowledge, it is not located on such an archaeological site, and therefore there will be no or a small impact. D, other impacts we've discussed, the mitigation efforts being taken. We'll go through E. If any of the above are answered, moderate to large impact may occur, continue with the following questions, but staff recommends that all of the foregoing questions are small to no impact. Therefore, we'll move on to question 11. Impact on open space and recreation. Will the proposed action result in a loss of recreational opportunities or a reduction of open space, an open space resource as designated in any adopted municipal open space plan? The answer to this question is no. There are no designated open spaces or recreational resources displaced by this project. Open space under seeker, as you probably know, is land that is left in its natural or undeveloped state for conservation, recreation, scenic, or agricultural purposes. There is no such land there. This is a brownfield in an existing urban environment, redevelopment of already developed land. Staff recommends the answer to this question is no. Question number 12, will the proposed action be located within or adjacent to a critical environmental area? The property does not contain a critical environmental area. The action will not be located within or adjacent to one. Therefore, staff recommends that this question be answered no, there will be no impact on a critical environmental area. Question 13, impact on transportation. Will the proposed action result in a change to existing transportation systems? The answer is no. To ensure that, staff recommends an answer of no, and to ensure that any potential significant negative impacts with respect to transportation, the applicant again has attempted to mitigate any impact by meeting with the New York State Department of Transportation to discuss any potential impacts to the I-81 viaduct removal project and community grid plans, and to coordinate any right-of-way improvements with NYS DOT along Almond Street. Almond Street, as you know, is proposed to be a large boulevard with a high level of vehicular capacity and to the maximum extent practicable. The project mitigates congestion on Almond Street by locating the entrance of the indoor parking structure mid-block on East Fayette rather than on Almond Street. So it's unlikely to impact the level of service or level of capacity on the future wide corridor of Almond Street. It's also centrally located to mass transit options, bus stops, and bicycle lanes, and the connective corridor, which offers other transit options. And it's within the central business district, so it's walkable. Thus, the project is unlikely to result in significant adverse impact on existing or future transportation systems or traffic patterns. And as I already said, staff recommends an answer of no to question number 13, impact on transportation. Impact on energy. Will the proposed action cause an increase in the use of any form of energy? Staff recommends an answer to yes to this question, so we're going to walk through the sub-questions specifically. Will the proposed action require a new or upgrade to an existing substation? The project will be under a 2,500 megawatt hours per year threshold and will connect to the local utility grid. It does not require a new substation or upgrades to an existing substation, nor does it require creation or extension of transmission lines. So for each of A through D, staff has recommended no impact or a small impact will occur. The action is unlikely to have any potentially significant negative impacts on energy. Question number 15, impact on noise, odor, and light. Will the proposed action result in any increase in noise, odors, or outdoor lighting? Staff recommends an answer of yes to this question, and we're going to take a deeper dive into the sub-questions A through E. The project will not result in significantly negative impacts on the environment in terms of noise, odor, or light. The construction phase of the project, which is estimated to last approximately 2 years, will generate noise for a limited time period of approximately 2 years, but will impact relatively few residential receptors because of the nature of the environment surrounding the project site. The noise generated by construction will be relatively short in duration and of limited hours and will not result in significant impacts on neighboring residential uses due to time limitations, as I said. The impacts related to construction noise will be similar to any typical multifamily residential construction projects in urban environments. And the following measures have been imposed. Construction will take place Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. and with prior permission from the City of Syracuse Central Permitting Office. Construction activities may take place on Saturdays between 7 a.m. and 5 p.m., but only when done in accordance with approved permits issued by the City of Syracuse. Trucks will be prohibited from idling outside of the site. So there will be an impact on noise, and there will be no additional odor generated by either as the finished project or during construction. So while staff has identified impact on noise, odor, and light as something that may have an impact ultimately in response to sub-questions A through F, or D, because F is other impacts, There will be no impact or a small impact. Question 16, impact on human health. Will the proposed action have an impact on human health from exposure to new or existing sources of contaminants? This site is a brownfield, but is unlikely to have, so while it will have an impact on human health because of the nature of the site, there's contaminants on site, it's unlikely to have, it's likely to have no or a small impact because they are already working with the state DEC to regulate, and it's highly regulated, to clean the site of contaminants through the brownfield program. It was historically an auto repair shop from the 1930s to the 60s, also a gasoline fueling station. Various portions of the property were historically used as a livery and carriage house, auto repair, auto wash, upholstering company, a church, a recreation hall, and auto parking. A lot of potential for environmental contaminants. An unknown quality of oil was observed in the floor sump inside an abandoned gas station, and other impacts, petroleum impacted soil was observed at the gas station. And there was a spill reported to the DEC in 2016. There's a lot of detail about the basis for it being a brownfield site, as you can see in your packet. I don't have page numbers on these pages, but primarily, the analytical testing resulted with a localized presence, mainly from the former gas station, of soil impacted by petroleum contamination, and found volatile organic compounds and semi-volatile organic compounds in 2 of the 10 soil borings. And accordingly qualifies the project for the New York DEC Brownfield Cleanup Program. No other testing, or the testing did not identify any other impacts associated with the former uses, so just the petroleum contamination. The applicants will be completing additional investigation of the site pursuant to DEC regulations and the Brownfield Cleanup Program, and they will form a remedial action work plan, RAWP, which will be prepared outlining how cleanup of the site will be achieved. In fact, while the answer to this question is yes, there will be no or little impact on human health because, in fact, this project is going to clean up the site and leave it in a better condition when they're done than it is right now. Question 17, consistency with the community plan. Is the proposed action consistent with adopted land use plans? The action here, staff is, well, the question is it not consistent? I was like, wait, it says no. The action is consistent with the adopted land use plans. There are numerous strategic plans developed by the city of Syracuse, including the Syracuse 5-year consolidated plan, the East Adams Street Neighborhood Transformation Plan, and the Syracuse Housing Plan, the City of Syracuse Consolidated Plan 2040, and the I-81 Community Grid Plan. This development is consistent with all of those plans and furthers them, particularly in terms of the need for housing in the city and cleanup of sites in the city. So the answer to this question we recommend is no, there will be no or no impacts. Finally, question 18, consistency with community character. I'll make sure I don't get it. Will the proposed,
Is it inconsistent?
Is the proposed project inconsistent with existing community character? The answer to that question recommended by staff is no. The property is currently mostly underutilized vacant buildings with a parking lot, surface parking, and an office building. The action will result in environmental improvement and aesthetically appropriate mixed-use, high residential density buildings with streetscape improvements, landscaping that's consistent with the intent of the Central Business District and the MX5 Zone District. The scale and massing of the building is consistent with the surrounding built environment. And also consistent with the Syracuse University Center of Excellence to the north and the Crown Plaza Hotel to the south, and will include 35 affordable dwelling units, and it will not displace any existing housing stock. The action will also, as I said repeatedly, remediate environmental contaminants and improve the dilapidated streetscape on the property. Thus, the action will not have a significant impact on the community character. In conclusion, the Planning Commission as lead agency in this coordinated review under SECRA has thoroughly reviewed all relevant materials and analyzed all aspects of the action. For these reasons set forth above, the Commission determines that the action will not have any significant adverse impacts on the environment. Does everyone agree with that statement?
Yes.
Consequently, a negative declaration will be filed, and a notice of the negative declaration will be provided pursuant to all applicable laws and regulations. And we have completed the Part 2. Part 3 of the seeker is a summary of the justifications for a negative declaration. And I think that it's available on the website, right, Christian? So I am not going to, want me to go through it? Okay. Yeah. Oh, okay, so, there we go, we're done. Any questions? All right, we have accomplished seeker for the Gateway project. This is both for the re-subdivision and for the site plan review. To separate them would probably be seen as segmentation, so the seeker covers both actions that you'll be voting on tonight.
So after that exhaustive list of questions and background, any questions or comments from the commission members in terms of our seeker review?
No questions, thank you.
I just think to acknowledge and thank the staff for inclusion of the community grid vision plan in the references for the community plans, since in the past we've had to add that. Well done,
A pretty recent addition, but it's in there.
importantly.
You only have to tell us once. Yep, good.
Okay, in that case, I think we're in a position to take formal action on the seeker determination.
No, you don't have to. We've gone through the whole thing.
We have to
We've
declare
already-
lead agency, though?
Oh, that was.
Oh, right. You do
Oh,
have to do that.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Okay. I move to declare the Planning Commission as the lead agency for purposes of the coordinated seeker review. And we've always acknowledged finding a negative seeker declaration.
Second.
Discussion on the seeker motion before us. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, indicate by saying nay. Any abstentions? The motion carries. As indicated, it applies to both components, the site plan review and the proposed re-subdivision. Commission's now in a position to move toward action on each of those two items separately. First being MASPR 24-17, which is the site plan review.
Staff has one comment and one recommendation for condition prior to making a motion. One, just to cover the question brought up tonight and the reopened public comment period. Just to put on the record that the New York State Building Code does have provisions for footing and foundation protection. It's always part of plan review and site work, plan review and inspection. So the city permit office and their inspectors will work closely with the developer, and the design team, but there's a scope and a purpose to protect adjacent properties directly in the building code. It's part of every review. There are provisions for excavation and foundation work near neighboring properties. So part of the review, we will work very closely with the design professional. And if there are measures that need to be taken, the building code is explicit on that. And that would be directly with a design professional. So that will be covered there. And the last piece, just to add the condition and to note that the developer has committed to compliance with Rezone Syracuse and the mandate that it include 12% of all units for this project be certified as affordable. So I'm just adding that as a condition of approval that they've committed to this. It's on page 21 of your packets, that they're committed to providing annual verification, certification through the Commissioner of the Department of Neighborhood and Business Development.
Is it, in that regard, is it more important to specify the percentage of units or the number of units?
I think you can specify the percentage. In this instance, based on the number of units in the project, the percentage is 12%. So we can just mention that as a condition.
Okay. Any other input?
That's it.
Okay, great, thank you. If commission members don't have any additional questions, we would be in a position to entertain a motion for action first on the major site plan review, perhaps noting the two conditions just outlined for the commission.
I move approval of major site plan review 2417 with the conditions just described by the zoning administrator.
Second.
Discussion.
Just wanted to add, we have an extensive record on the project from our 2 sessions, plus the reopening of the public comment. We want to commend our staff, we want to commend the developer, and encourage these kind of conversations in the future. We're very grateful that the public gets to see how important it is to be sensitive if you have historic and noteworthy properties that could be impacted by such a major project, that there is an effort by both sides to preserve those properties.
Well said, well said. Further comments? If not, then all in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Site plan review is approved for the project, and we move on to the companion piece, which is the re-subdivision R2428. Is there a motion on the re-subdivision?
Move approval of re-subdivision 2428 as presented with no additional conditions.
Thank you.
I'll offer a second.
Thank you. Discussion on the re-subdivision motion before us for R2428. If there's no discussion, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? The re-subdivision for the same site is also approved. Thank you both very much. I have a notation here. We're making a little
Yes.
modification to the agenda.
We're going
for the
to
next
jump
project.
to the last special use permit under new business. It should be prior to page 267 in your packets due to just the formatting of numbering. It's actually labeled as pages 001 to 020 in your packet. But the next item is a special use permit SP-24-11 for 612 Wolf Street. This is for, to legalize an auto repair, heavy-duty use at the subject property. And the applicant this evening is Anthony J. Paris. This lies within the MX2 zone district.
Thank you. Good evening. Lady and gentlemen of the commission, deputy commissioner, council. I'm here with Angelo Chido and my associate Paul Smythe. And we offer nothing new for their property. We just want to maintain the status quo that's existed since approximately 2011. At that time, it was used by Mr. Amato for building, for auto repair and maintenance, and has been used in that manner since that time. All right. He was vetted and licensed by the Department of Motor Vehicles, and since moved on, Mr. Chido owns that property. Quite frankly, he owns 604, 606, 608, 618, 612, 1608 First North Street. He owns most of that whole block. All right. And he's owned that, he and his father-in-law, since 1979. All right. They bought the property at 618 from Lipsy Brothers, and after that, they developed it. They subdivided 618 with 612. They built, in 1986, the structure that the foundation is there now. And after the Labor Day storm, the roof blew off the 612 portion, and they rebuilt a concrete building, which is the same building that houses the tenant now, Vic's Auto. So that's been there since 1996. Something happened that Vic's Auto moved in. He applied for his license from DMV. Supposedly DMV never got it. When he moved to reapply, he ended up paying a $1,000 fine for not having it. He moved and reapplied. They asked for zoning permission or acknowledgement. Mr. Chido called zoning, spoke with an employee who was no longer there. Over the phone was told, yeah, you're okay. All right. So they moved on. Turns out rezone shows up and, gee, you're not appropriate there anymore. More or less a dog grooming parlor or a coffee shop. That's just not going to go on that corridor of Wolf Street. Sorry. But Mr. Chido has owned that portion of Wolf Street. He marshals it. The house next door to 618 was a drug house. He bought it, cleaned it out. He owns the property behind the structures on Lemoyne Avenue, so that provides more safety and lighting and whatever continuity for that area. This property will not impact negatively in any manner the neighborhood. It is an ongoing business. It's clean. It's maintained. There's no problem with it. All we need is to perpetuate what's been going on since 2011. Unfortunately, this looks like it's kind of slipped through the cracks, but throughout the years, this property has been inspected by codes, by the fire department, and has never had a problem. And here we're just asking so we can preserve jobs and the integrity of the neighborhood. It will not negatively impact on anything. It's my understanding that zoning doesn't have a big problem with this at all, except that if in fact the characteristic is changed in the future, they would ask for some conditions, which I believe would more or less comply with rezone now, and we'll have no problem, but there's really no intent to change what has been in existence since 2011. I would open it up for any questions or concern. I'd like to thank Mr. Dishaw and council for vetting the applications that we have submitted, and I appreciate their cooperation, their advice, and their concern.
Thank you for the overview. Questions from the commission members?
No questions, thank you.
Question for staff, I guess, just to clarify, this is coming forward to the Planning Commission right now or under the applicability for special permit use that refers to pre-existing uses prior to the adoption of rezone? Is that correct, or?
Rephrase, ask again, you're saying, is this a retro, are we retroactively?
Yeah,
Is that what
the
you're
action
asking?
is coming to the Planning Commission under the applicability for special use permit that relates to pre-existing uses? Is that correct, or what's?
Yeah, essentially, that's correct.
You. I have no other questions.
Further questions?
I just have a couple questions. There are some concerns, or have been some concerns expressed with some of the parking into the right-of-way, into the sidewalk, sometimes close to the curb. I'm assuming that that can easily be addressed by the applicant.
That won't pose a problem.
The city, as we all know, does not allow parking on sidewalks in any neighborhoods, as far as I'm aware, so no sense starting now.
There's fencing there, and there's a parking lot, and it's secured.
Right.
So there's no
So-
problem.
So that you're aware, there are concerns about having the parking. And the curb cut is 24 feet, which is standard, and I believe it's still 24 feet there, if I'm correct. I went over there and looked at it. So I just want to be sure that
I
there's
believe
no-
that's one of the conditions that Mr. Dishaw
Correct.
cited, that in the future, if there's any change in the development or focus of the site, that would be addressed, and we'll address that now as far as parking. We'll attend to that.
Great. So as long as the applicant's aware of some of the conditions, I have no further questions. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
I'm sorry? Cars are moved. There's no
Right.
issue. Just for edification, sometimes there were cars parked on that vacant lot on the corner of First North, and the police were concerned. They said, well, they're abandoned. They weren't abandoned. The license plates were removed and stored in the premises, because when they're left there, sometimes they go missing.
Right.
So there was no intent to have any
Understood.
abandoned vehicles stored there.
Right.
And that was only temporary. So,
Thank you. Katie, anything else?
Just that we received one letter of support for this project, which we just distributed to each commission member.
I believe that was from Commissioner Hogan.
Yes.
Anything further?
Not yet.
Thank you.
Are there individuals who would like to speak in favor of this application? If so, please come forward, provide your name, address, and comments.
Good evening. My name is Marty Nabe. I am the first district counselor, city of Syracuse. I represent Wolf Street, and Mr. Chidle's business is in my district. Over on Wolf Street, we've had some challenges recently for a long, long time. Bad businesses, vehicles illegally parked, blocking sidewalks. We've had a lot of that. We recently had to shut down an illegal business, Wolf Exotic. But there's one business that has been an asset to our community for many, many years. A business that has given back to the community. A business that thousands of people in our area utilize. And that is Mr. Chidle's business. Home heating, air conditioning. And I would ask the Planning Commission to approve this. It would be a great asset to show that we are continuing our support of preserving local jobs in our community. I know there are questions, and I know we can work on these questions and get answers. Because we want to preserve our local economy. We want to preserve long-standing jobs. And we want to preserve our tax base. But most important, please remember, Mr. Chidle has been a great asset to our community for many years. And I would ask that we approve this variance. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there other individuals who would like to speak in favor of this application? If so, please come to the podium.
Myself. I think we should approve it. The one thing I want to say is, all through the years when we always added or bought the houses that had problems, one of those houses had, on an average, I'll bet you, probably 200 police calls there a year. It was a drug house. All the time we bought that, purchased it. We always keep the property clean. We have one of my employees that every morning between 7 and 7:30 walks that whole 600 block of Wolf Street, picks up all the papers, cleans it. We keep it painted. We keep it up. We have never had any code violations. And that's the way we plan on keeping it, because I think when you keep it clean, it sets examples for the other neighbors. That's the way we want it. I mean, I have stores around there, people that come near the thing and they'll just throw the food dishes out to the curb. I mean, we pick it up because we want it clean. If you have respect for your property, I think sooner or later they'll catch on, we hope. And thank you for your time, and I hope it works out.
Thank you. Are there other individuals who would like to speak in favor of this application? If there are no other speakers in that category, is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition to the application? Please come to the podium, provide your name, address, and comments. I don't see any other individuals rising to speak, so we can close the public comment on this application and entertain a motion for action on the special use permit SP 24-11 on Wolf Street.
I move approval of SP 24-11 as presented with the 7 conditions noted in the staff analysis, recommended conditions that address issues that Commissioner Murphy discussed with the applicant. Do you need me to read the 7 conditions into the record, or is that sufficient?
They're in the report.
Yeah, on page 001.
Yeah, and there's been direct written communication with the applicant with the exact verbiage in the staff report.
Okay.
So it's documented there as well.
Okay, great, thank you.
You're covered. Is there a second?
Second?
Can I address a point of order?
Certainly.
My understanding,
Jake?
my understanding that these conditions are in the future, as set forth in your email this morning.
So there are 6 listed conditions that if there are any changes or redevelopment to the site that will be required. I guess the one that's in effect immediately upon a decision would be that the vehicle is not parking in the right-of-way, which we already discussed. And then the last item, which we already discussed, would be just that the understanding that an application for a building permit is required when and if approval is granted by Common Council on a final decision for the special use permit.
And you were gracious enough to give us that.
Yeah, all that information was provided already to the applicant.
So it's my understanding that this use is granted as is. In the future, if there's a change, those conditions apply, with the exception that the parking will now be enforced.
That would be correct, given, I can't answer to the commission's, recommendation based on, our staff report, but assuming that they recommend it to council and council makes that final decision without any additional conditions, I guess that answer would be yes.
That was your recommendation.
Correct.
Thank you. Sorry to interrupt. Wanted to make that clear.
And we do need to perform seeker.
Oh, right.
So-
Rescind my motion until we do seeker.
Okay, so we'll do seeker first. How about it?
Makes sense.
Thank you.
Has everybody had a chance to review the short form EAF Part 1 that's in your packet prepared by the applicant?
Yes.
Is everyone familiar with the questions of the short EAF Part 2? And
Yes.
Yes.
does anyone believe on any of the 11 questions that this project will have any moderate to large impacts?
Oh,
All right, because you do not believe there will be any moderate to large impacts, I recommend you vote to issue a negative declaration under seeker and complete the EAF Part 3 accordingly.
thank you. Is there a motion?
I move a finding of a negative seeker declaration.
Second.
Discussion on the seeker motion? If not, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? The seeker motion is approved. And now on to the substantive action on the special permit, again, SP 24-11 on Wolf Street. Does your previous motion still stand?
Yes, sir.
And the seconder was?
Walter. Oh, was it me?
Yes.
Kathy? Sorry.
He went that way. Okay, so we have a second discussion on the motion for the special use permit.
Just to support the record, since we had an extensive conversation about the pre-existing condition that allows this use to continue, that there will be certain requirements that go into effect at this time, if this is approved tonight, and then in the future, if there's new development or change in the character of the structure, then those other conditions will kick in.
That's correct.
And I do just want to say, it's a pleasure to see the Honorable Anthony Paris appear before us and give us some guidance tonight. So thank you, sir.
Further discussion on the motion? If not, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? This is approved, and it now moves to the Common Council for final action.
So
And we
back to the
return
top.
to our regular order.
Yeah, back to the top of new business on the agenda. So in your packet, we're going back to page 118 under new business. So this is major site plan review, MASPR-24-23 at 215-23 South Salina Street, owner Joe Hucko. This lies within the MX5 zone district.
Thank you. Good night.
While Joe comes up to introduce this, just to let the board know, we've been working with the applicant to establish the land uses of all the tenants in the building, and after an evaluation of everything going on at the site, the applicant has taken our recommendation that the easiest and cleanest way to document all of this and clean it all up in one process is the major site plan review under rezone, so that's why the applicant is before you today.
Good evening. That's why I'm here, like the
What he said.
what he said. Just a brief history on the building. It was built in 1894 as a department store. We got involved with it in 1994. Maybe some of you remember there was a facade around the building that covered, so we removed that in concert with Onondaga Savings Bank, which was actually the owner at the time of the building, and converted it. Well, it had already been office space, but we just maintained office space floors 2 through 7, and then the first floor was retail, and then the lower level was always retail and mixed use. So the building was, fully functioning. Obviously, it went to vacancy, and then re-tenanted it in 1995. And actually, the tenants from the 3rd floor to the 7th floor remain the same tenants: Melvin & Melvin Law Firm, New York State Health Department, and New York State Health Department. And then Peace is our 2nd floor office tenant. And then the 1st floor, we've had Bersani Jeweler has been there since that time. And then we've got some other new tenants, Wildflowers, and there was a restaurant there, and Jamaica Cute's there now. And then the lower level, we did some reconfiguring, even though it was already retail and office there, and created this micro retail complex called McCarthy Mercantile. And so for 2 of the tenants, we've applied for a building permit, and as Jake said, that's why we're here. So the usage hasn't changed, and it's only enhanced, we think so.
Thank you. Questions for the applicant regarding this site review?
Joe, the micro retail spaces, I'm assuming that I read about, there's a couple of new ones or ones that are previously existing that we want to bring up to.
There's one that is new existing,
the use.
yes, but the spaces aren't changing. The tenants may change, but the configuration of the space remains the same. The building was completely permitted in 1995-96, for full access, 2 stair towers. We've had fire and, codes through the building, and, hence the permits. And, this seemed like a positive recommendation from the zoning office to, put us 100% in compliance. So if there's any changes in the future, they're seamless, so,
Right.
or easier.
Right.
So,
Unless we-
yeah, seamless.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
We have a comment in the staff analysis about court action against a property owner for maintenance, but I don't see any additional clarification of that. Has that issue been resolved? Or what does that refer to? Was that a previous owner, or is that?
No, we've owned the building since 2000, so,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. I mean, our building's fully occupied,
Right.
we maintain it. I'm not sure exactly what that is. I thought it had to do with the permit process.
I see. Okay.
Not anything maintenance related.
No.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there individuals who would like to speak in favor of this application? If so, please come forward. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to the application, please come to the podium. We have no additional speakers on this item. We will close public comment, and we can proceed to seeker review.
Okay, has everybody had a chance to read the Part 1 EAF, short form EAF in your packet prepared by the applicant?
Yes.
Is everyone familiar with the 11 questions of the short EAF Part 2?
Yes.
Upon review of that, do you believe this project will have any moderate to large impacts?
No.
All right, because you do not believe there will be any moderate to large impacts, I recommend you vote to issue a negative declaration under seeker and complete the EAF Part 3 accordingly.
Thank you. Is there such a motion for seeker?
I move to find a negative seeker declaration.
Second.
Thank you both. Discussion? All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Seeker motion is approved, and we can proceed to action on the major site plan review, MASPR 2423.
I move approval of major site plan review -24-23 as presented.
Second?
Discussion? All in favor of the motion before us, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? The site plan review for MASPR 2423 is approved. We continue down our list.
Yes, the next project on the agenda, we've titled Industrial Tire Warehouse Expansion. There are two companion pieces with this. The first being a major site plan review, MASPR-24-12 at 210 North 6th Street, and also a companion re-subdivision R-24-21, also at 210 North 6th Street. So just to introduce this further, this is an uncoordinated review for seeker, so commission can take action on each item, the major site plan review and the re-subdivision. The applicant will present and introduce both of those together. Prior to making a motion for each item on approval, there will be seeker review for short environmental assessment form, part 1, 2, and 3. With that, the applicant is Terry Horst from Horst Landscaping Architecture.
Hi, I'm Terry Horst from Terry Horst Landscape Architecture. With me is Dennis Bodette, the owner. So we are proposing to re-subdivide 3 properties into one. Dennis has now purchased the other 2 properties in a lieu. He originally owned 210, but the other Wolf Street and the 6th North Street property he now owns from the land bank. So he's proposing to demolish do a partial demolition of the existing building on 6 North Street. And the building to the rear remains, and the partial building to the front along 6 North Street remains. And he'll build a 20,000 square foot approximately building where he will operate his retreading operations. So the building will store, he'll do the retreading operation and ship them out. So there's a loading dock in the front that will allow those operations to conduct. And then the rear building will be a a controlled environment to store the adhesives that is used in the retreading process. There'll be no storage of tires outside. It's pretty much going to be interior to the building. He will keep the front part of the building. It's about 2,000 square feet. Right now is existing offices and restrooms, and that will remain in that operation. We're proposing 15 parking spaces, 1 formal curb cut, additional landscaping, and sidewalks along 6 First Street, or 6 North Street, sorry, and repairing the curb cuts on Wolf Street to the 2 residential properties. I think that's pretty much summarizes the project.
Thank you. The portion that's going to be demolished amounts to roughly how many square feet, approximately?
It's that building there, and it's about 2,000 square feet. 2,300 square feet, sorry.
Thank you. Questions for the applicant?
The building that's being retained has a loading dock garage door in there. I'm assuming that will remain.
The building, the small, in the back?
The small back one.
That is, I don't think it's going to be used as a loading dock.
Okay.
It's going to be used just to store the adhesives, and they won't need, that's usually like in barrels, right? Okay, so it's not something that you would need a vehicle
Trucks
to
going
drive
into,
in. Yeah.
right, okay. And the curb cuts on Wolf Street will be mitigated because
Yes.
you won't need them.
Yeah, that was one of the comments from
Right, I saw
Neil.
that,
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Oh, I have one last, sorry. The new sidewalk on 6 North.
Yeah.
Will connect to the Wolf Street sidewalk.
Yes.
At the corner.
Yeah, they just put in a new drop curb on
Yep,
that corner,
they
so, yeah, so we'll connect to that on both sides.
Okay, thanks, sorry.
We have a note about an encroachment waiver for existing steps and a metal door canopy that I believe the zoning administrator is granted or will be granted. Is that
So that's not through us. So this isn't uncommon for older properties to find features that are encroaching into the city right away. So that is actually a request application through the city central permit office, which will go out for review and legislation requests from the DPW commissioner to the common council for those existing features. But seeing that they're at 4 feet 6 inches and 9 feet 6 inches, the north side also has commonly known extremely wide right-of-ways. This isn't uncommon, but that's a whole separate process through common council.
And we have made that application already.
okay? Great. Thank you for that
With your
clarification.
recommendation.
Correct.
Additional questions? Okay, thank you. Are there individuals who wish to speak in favor of the application? Please come forward, provide your name, address, and comments. Is there anyone wishing to speak in opposition to the application? Please come forward with your name, address, and comments. Apparently, we have no additional speakers on these 2 items, so we will close public comment. That will allow us now to proceed to our seeker review.
Our seeker, no.
recorded this earlier.
When I want to go on vacation, I'm just going to play it. Yeah. Have all of you had a chance to review the short EAF Part 1 in the packet prepared by the applicant?
Yes.
Is everyone familiar with the questions of the short EAF Part 2?
Yes.
Upon your review of the short EAF Part 2, do you believe that this project will have any moderate to large impacts?
No.
All right, because you do not believe there will be any moderate to large impacts, I recommend you vote to issue a negative declaration under seeker and complete the EAF Part 3 accordingly.
Thank you. Is there a motion for that seeker action, negative declaration?
I move that make a negative seeker declaration.
Second.
You both. Discussion on the seeker motion before us. All in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? With that accomplished, we return to the major site plan review, MA SPR 2412.
For approval of the site plan application.
Thank you.
Second?
Thank you. Discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? The site plan review is approved, and we move to the re-subdivision associated with that same project, R2421, the re-subdivision on North 6th Street. Is there a motion on the re-subdivision?
Move approval of re-subdivision 24-21.
Thank you both. All in favor of the motion indicate by, oh, excuse me, discussion on the motion. No discussion. Then, all in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? The re-subdivision is also approved for that project. And we move to our next item on the agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to clarify for the record that the seeker was for both actions, both the re-subdivision and the companion major site plan review.
Yes, thank you. I was thinking of articulating that because you had indicated that in the previous one, otherwise segmentation, and I neglected to do that. But thanks for the clarification. I think it's important for the record. Onward.
The next new business item is a project plan review. This is part of a planned institutional district, otherwise known as a PID, located at 108-12 Walnut Street. Applicant Jennifer Bybee.
Good evening, Chairman Kulik and members of the Planning Commission. Jennifer Bybee, Assistant Director for Campus Planning with the Syracuse University Campus Planning Office, which is located at 1320 Jamesville Ave in Syracuse. And I'm here tonight as an authorized agent for the St. Thomas More Foundation, which is technically the applicant. We are seeking approval tonight of the project plan application we've applied for, and it's that type of application because we are in the main campus planned institutional district, subdistrict 7. You might recall that I was here on April 15th and gave a brief project overview, and it was on that night that the commission voted to hold the public hearing, which we're now having. After we were at your board, we went to the Landmark Preservation Board on April 18th, and that's because the Catholic Center is in the Walnut Park National Register District, but critically not contributing to it. And we had a very thorough and detailed design review, which was a great meeting by the Landmark Preservation Board. And they said, and I'm going to quote from the city departmental review comments to make sure it's exactly in their words. The Syracuse Landmark Preservation Board reviewed the application at its April 18th, 2024 meeting. It was supportive of the proposed new construction noting that the scale, massing, and materials of the new chapel are compatible with the surrounding Walnut Park Historic District. No further preservation review is required at this time. So we are back tonight seeking approval. The project complies with the use and all the dimensional requirements of the zoning district. I do have some images which I can share, and that's actually, that's great. If you could go just back to the first image. Okay, good. Thank you. This is even before that. I don't know who's operating it. Oh, thank you. This is setting the site context of the Catholic Center location, and you can see that we have institutional uses all surrounding it. Could I have the next image, please? Thank you. These are some existing images of the center and indicating that white structure with the cross. That is the southernmost aspect of the existing structure. The project renovation involves select demolition and new construction. The total new construction for the project is only 850 square feet, and it's roughly in the same footprint. And if you could go to the next image, please. Thank you. This is another existing image, and that's showing, again, the portion to the south that will be demolished. May I have the next image, please? Thank you. This illustrates graphically what's happening. The area that's in the black with the hatched is showing the demolition. The magenta, and you can see how that's greatly overlaying the demoed area, is the new construction. The area that's kind of the darker, sort of indigo in the middle is being renovated, but nothing demoed or new as far as exterior envelope there. And then the area of the existing building that's north or above the red line, that's not part of the project work area at all. That just remains exactly as it is. So again, there's some demo, there's some new construction, and it's 850 square feet new. And this is the main purpose is there was a donor gift, and it will build a beautiful new chapel that fronts on the park in the most splendid way. May I have the next image, please?
I
Thank
love
you.
that image, by the way. It explains very succinctly what's
good.
going on because multiple things are happening, and that's a great visual summary.
Good, thank you. And we're a real pain to our architects getting it just the way we wanted it, so it's nice to hear that. Again, an existing image, and then if I may have the next one, please. Thank you. This is showing the after. That's showing the new chapel in the same location where the structure you had just seen was. And of course, obviously connected to the rest of the Catholic Center. May I have the next image? Thank you. Now this is showing, looking, say, south from the other direction. That's the existing. And then if I may have the next image, please. Thank you. That's showing the new construction of the chapel connecting to the rest of the Catholic Center complex. Next, please. This is we're showing this because there will be a beacon that is part of the new chapel design, and it will be lit and at night. And we wanted to demonstrate how there are other buildings in the immediate vicinity that similarly lit at night. And we will be absolutely code compliant with the lighting, and there's not going to be any light spillage. It's just going to be a very beautiful, kind of soft, glowing light. May I have the next image, please? Thank you. We're showing this because we're complying with the height requirement. Actually, there is no height requirement in the PID, but what we wanted to demonstrate here is the care that we went to be contextual with the surrounding heights. And I believe the next image is going to show this a little bit easier to read. I think it's the next one. I think the numbers are a little bigger. Yes. This is showing how, even just within this immediate area, we are lining up and matching. So it will just blend right in, but be new and quite beautiful. And may I have the next image? I think that's going to be the final one. Okay, this is the elevation. This was included in your packet. And next image, please. This should be the materials. Yes. So right now, the center has a sort of melange of bricks. And the team right now is working to, may I have the next image, please? Thank you. To come up with just the right terracotta facing that will complement the existing, not be an identical match, but speak to it. And that's my last image. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. Questions from the commission members?
I have a question about the image on page 213 that Commissioner Kulik just complimented you about.
Yes.
I'm curious, not sure, the parking spaces that are on the western side of the property right now by the alleyway, are you going to lose some of them with the new construction, or what's?
And I need to see it if you don't mind, because the details. I know we are required to have 9 and we will have 10. And I think, if I can see the site plan, and I left my copy back at the bench. No, that's okay. Is it all right if I get closer to it? I need to look a little more.
Go ahead.
Ed Brown, and he can introduce himself and answer that, but I am pretty confident we are keeping them exactly where they are.
Ed Brown with Munley Brown Studio. Munley Brown Studio is the design architect on the project. We are not keeping all the parking spaces. We're losing some of them because of the extent of the new chapel. So we will retain parking spaces, an ADA space, and I think 3 others. But we won't keep the full set that's currently there.
How many parking spaces will be remaining then?
I think we don't have a site plan, sorry, but I think it's 4, including 1 ADA.
Apologies for our not being, I wasn't totally prepared on that one. I know we wrote in our application that we are going to have the required 10, and we could, as a follow-up, provide a site plan, because this was not the detail we were the most focused on, obviously, but I believe that we have site within the project property to provide also on site. I think we just did not include exactly where they are here. But I know that we wouldn't have put that in the application if it weren't the case. So I think maybe what we're doing is putting them up at the northern end of the site. I think that's what we're doing.
Further questions?
I have a question for staff. So a question in terms of the parking spaces, for this use, is there still a requirement in that area for there to be 10 spaces?
So this is different than evaluating it based on parking in a called-out zone district. So this is compliant with the PID that it's in. This is basically just a formal presentation to the commission for a project plan, which under rezone is presumed to already have approval, but it does need to be formally introduced since it's a new project that's not documented. So our analysis is that it would be in compliance with the PID, but.
It's the difference in, like I said, the use, the locations, it's in the planned district. The location takes away that issue we have with a set number of parking spaces for the square footage of the building.
Yeah, there wasn't.
Yeah. The PID in rezone was modified to basically set forth all of the development standards that are applicable to projects within the PID, and those that aren't specified are essentially exempt from the code.
And that's fair.
Yeah,
I just want to have that for the record, that we've
yeah,
examined the issue.
absolutely. Good catch. The law is on their side.
Anything additional to add, Jake?
No.
Okay, good. And no further questions for the applicant? Is there anyone who would like to speak in favor of this application? Please come to the podium, provide your name, address, comments. Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition to the application? Please come forward. So we have no additional speakers. We will close public comment, and we can turn to our seeker review and action for this project.
Sure. Has everyone had a chance to review the short EAF Part 1 contained in your packet?
Yes.
And is everybody familiar with the questions of the short EAF Part 2 prepared by staff and also contained in your packet? Yes. Does anyone believe this project will have any moderate to large impacts under seeker?
No.
Because you do not believe there will be any moderate to large impacts, I recommend that you vote to issue a negative declaration under seeker and to complete the EAF Part 3 accordingly.
Is there a motion for that negative seeker declaration?
Move to make a negative seeker declaration?
Second.
Discussion on the seeker motion. If there's no discussion, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Seeker motion is approved for negative declaration, and we can move to action on the project plan review for Z 2861.
I'll move to approve it.
I'll second it.
Discussion. All in favor of the motion before us, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. Any abstentions? Z 2861 is approved. Thank you. We continue on.
Next up is a re-subdivision, R-24-24. This is at 116 Jasper and 120 Jasper Street. Applicant is Dave Colgrove. This is in the R2 zone district.
Hi, my name's Dave Colgrove, an architect from Labella, and I'm here representing the Elahis, and Fariel is also here on behalf of the owner. What we're proposing to do is combine their property where they currently live at 116 Jasper Street. It's about a 58-foot lot, with the adjacent property at 120 Jasper Street, which is about a 29-foot lot, to be one property. The 29-foot lot is actually, I believe, is actually a non-conforming width for this zone, according to the current ordinance. And in that, to combine those properties, the existing residents on that property they also own that property, obviously, and it's in a state of disrepair. The foundation's in a rough shape and would need to be rebuilt. I think the more important aspect of this is that the Elahi family is very committed to this neighborhood and they have 4 aging family members that are in their 80s, and they're hoping to build a house that will allow them to stay in this area. And a big part of that addition is a 2-car garage, which makes a completely accessible entrance to be able to pull into the garage fairly close to the street. And also 3 bedrooms on that one level, on that main level. And also they're adding an indoor therapy pool, 16 by 32 foot therapy pool, which is also attached to the residence. And all of this structure is kind of pushed up towards, as you can see, towards the front of the property. You can see the hatched area is the portion of their existing house, which they actually just constructed not too long ago. The front porch with the front part with the diagonal hatch is a portion of their existing house which they will be removing. And all the gray area is all the new addition. The two-car garage being on the right-hand side of that U shape, and the pool being in the back of that U shape. And all of this building is pressed up basically in line with the existing property setbacks of the adjacent structures, and also to avoid this, the grade kind of drops off quite a bit at the back of the property. So this just worked out as far as laying out this property and making it work best on one level for them without making a very linear building all the way to the back of the property and having to put the garage in the back. We will have to go for a variance for structure coverage, but all in all, it's a lot less overall impervious coverage because we have very little driveway, which is unlike a lot of the properties in most of the Syracuse neighborhoods. And I think that about covers it.
Question for staff. First, the area variance to be heard by the BZA next month does not allow us to act on this now or conditionally is possible?
You will do seeker, and I can't remember.
Can we do seeker tonight?
Yes, you
'Cause
do
it says
seeker so that
coordinator.
the BZA can act.
Okay.
Without seeker, the BZA can't move forward.
Okay.
I think the conventional wisdom is not to approve it conditionally from the seeker training and to have the applicant come back.
Okay.
So we can approve seeker tonight?
Yes, you should approve seeker
Right.
tonight.
So-
Otherwise, the BZA cannot hear it.
Right. But it is a coordinated or it's not a coordinated review? I mean, have we heard back from everybody? Because we have a letter. Okay,
So technically, it's coordinated, but
right,
it's.
got it.
Limited.
Limited
scope.
coordination.
We're just trying to figure out the parameters of what action this body is able to take this evening.
Okay. So, one item before, I think we can vote on the resub. So, everybody has the given right to seek re-subdivision under the city's regulations for that process. In addition to that, part of the scope of the work here, based on the proposed site plan, is they're proposing a new house, upon re-subdivision, which exceeds structural coverage percentages under the zoning code. But, should the BZA wish to act on that or not, doesn't necessarily, have anything to do with the applicant's right to seek re-subdivision. So it's a separate item that's related to the future of this project, related to the re-subdivision, but they're really two separate things. If BZA chooses to deny it, then they won't be able to build the house, as they are proposing right now.
Yeah, okay.
I stand corrected. I was not paying close enough attention that this was a resub and not a site plan
We have two actions tonight, seeker and resub, and then we have to wait for them.
No,
We
no,
have
they're
nothing to
done.
do with
They'll
the
be done
BZA.
with you.
Okay.
BZA will have to conduct
Make their
seeker
own
on
decision.
their own. Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
So now, after all that, let me back up and ask if the commission members have any questions for the applicant following the presentation just made. Okay, thank you very much. Is there anyone who would like to speak in favor of this project? Please come forward, provide your name, address, and comments.
Good evening, Mark Cass. My address is 116 Griffin Street, although I'm here tonight related to my work address at 501 Park Street, the Northside Learning Center. Jasper Street is the block behind us. And so I just think that any development in our neighborhood is good. I do really support the owner who is a local resident. This isn't somebody from out of town. This is somebody who's already invested himself in the neighborhood for over 10 years, been very supportive of all kinds of neighborhood initiatives, and also is continuing to see a vision of investing in our neighborhood in another way. So I fully support his plan.
Thank you. Thank you. Are there other individuals who wish to speak in favor of this application? Please come forward. Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition to the application? Please come to the podium. We have no additional speakers. We will close public comment on this application and proceed to our seeker review.
Has everybody had a chance to review the short EAF Part 1?
Yes.
Is everyone familiar with the short EAF Part 2 prepared by staff and contained in your packet?
Yes.
Do any of you believe this project will have any moderate to large impacts under seeker?
No.
Because you do not believe there will be any moderate to large impacts, I recommend you vote to issue a negative declaration under seeker and to complete the EAF Part 3 accordingly.
Thank you. Is there a motion for the seeker declaration?
Move to grant a negative seeker declaration.
Second?
Thank you both. Discussion on the motion? All in favor of the seeker motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? That enables us to now consider the re-subdivision itself, R-2424 on Jasper Street. Is there a motion for action on the proposed re-subdivision?
Move approval of re-subdivision 24-24.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Discussion on the re-subdivision motion before us. If not, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. Any abstentions? Re-subdivision for R-2424 is approved. Thank you both, all. And we continue for our next project.
Okay, last item under new business before a couple other business items. Re-subdivision R24-29 at 170 and 202 Lafayette Road. This lies within the R4 zone district. Applicant Ed Keplinger.
Good evening. My name is Ed Keplinger, Keplinger Freeman Associates, 6320 Fly Road, East Syracuse, New York. I'm here representing the Smoky Hollow community. This is a group of parents that have created a nonprofit organization. They all have children that have developmentally challenged. They've developmentally challenged children, and they are looking for to build a facility eventually where these children could exist or remain after they're gone. So we've been working with them for quite a while. We've been working with them for at least 6 or 7 years. They looked at land in Baldwinsville, thus the name Smoky Hollow, because Smoky Hollow Road. That fell through. We looked at some property in DeWitt a few years ago, and that didn't work out. Now we've come across this piece of land that we would like to create a complex on. They're not ready to move forward with the planning for that complex yet. They have, we've done massing studies for it. We've reviewed a lot of the utilities and whatnot that occur at the site, and we found that this site would work very well for them, for their development. It's not, we could fit the units that they'd like to put on there, the parking and whatnot. So we've done the massing studies. We know it will work, but they're really not ready to move forward because they don't know if it'll be a one-story building, two-story building, what the state will require of them. But they do want to secure the property because the property is in a good location. The price fits within their budget. So there's a lot of things that work for them. There's 2 parcels here. We're really looking for a lot line adjustment. I put this graphic together to simplify it. This is 170 Lafayette Road. This is 202 Lafayette Road. see, in the end, 202 gets shortened, so that this is the 202 parcel, and then there is this larger parcel that can be developed. Have all of you been out to the site? Have you looked at it? You probably could see it's a challenging site to develop. There's a big mound here, it's about 15 feet high. If you did walk around, you'll notice that there's a lot of rock outcroppings, and we've done some testing on this site too for depth of rock. So there's some challenges. So the developable portion of this property is right here. As we were working through the process of massing, we noticed that this is fairly consistent through there. So we wanted to add this piece to this piece and make it a larger developable parcel. So that's what we're looking to do, and that would be the basis of the subdivision. And that's all I have for now.
Thank you. Questions for the applicant?
There's a house on, I think it's 202, right? And that will remain for now.
I think Gary, you own it, Gary, right? Yes.
Okay. For now, it will.
It will,
remain.
yeah. I think it'll remain into the future. Yeah.
Okay.
Further questions? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Are there individuals who would like to speak in favor of this application? If so, please come forward, provide your name, address, and comments. Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? Oh.
Excuse me, I got some throat problems here. My name is Gary Nastasi. I reside at 154 Lafayette Road. I know you're all familiar with me. I've been here numerous times. I live at I grew up there my entire life. I've been here 65 years in this area. Can I step over there for a
Sure,
second?
certainly.
I'll talk loud. This is my house here. This is where I live now currently. My grandfather built that house. My mother grew up there. My parents built this house. I grew up here. This was my great aunt and uncle's house. I bought that when they passed away. Obviously, I bought my grandfather's house when he passed away. So I own myself solely. I own this house, and the property in question. My two sisters and my brother and I own 170 and 162. House, vacant. There's also a 4.78 acre lot here that I own. So I surround this. I also own another house up the street. I've got my niece in that one now, and as time goes on, they get into position. My other nieces are going to buy these houses to live, carry on the tradition of Nastasi's living on Kites and Nastasi's living on Lafayette Road forever is what we want to do. You can see the back of my property is cut off here. My parents is cut off here. This here goes all the way back, but it really makes no sense not to cut this off, kind of in line with these, put this piece with this piece to give them adequate room to build what they want to build. I think it's a great use of the property. Young adults with disabilities that can live on their own. Housing is a huge problem in Syracuse as it is. That would help. My other lot, that 4.78 acre lot, that all got changed to R4. Contrary to what the card says that was sent in the mail, it says R5, but it's not, it's R4. The card says R5, but it's supposed to be R4. Also, my name on one of the pieces is spelled incorrectly, but it's Gary on the other one. But anyway, I just think it's a great use of the property, and I'm all for it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there other individuals who wish to speak in favor of the application? Please come forward, provide your name, address, and comments.
Kevin Brown, Fogel and Brown, PC, a law firm here in Syracuse. I represent the Calcerinos and other neighbors. I'm not going to talk against the project right now. I just want to make sure that this negative declaration is for the re-subdivision only.
The
For the
on- the o-
re-subdivision.
the only
That-
action
not-
before us tonight
not
is
prep-
the
well,
re-subdivision.
The language in here says preparation of the site. So any site work, there's a lot of work to be done. You know, there's biological reviews, there's stormwater reviews, there's a lot of work to be done. But certainly, if it's just the subdivision, and if it's clear that that's what the negative declaration is about, that's fine. Once we see this project, your neighbors might agree it's a wonderful project once we see what it is, okay? So that's our input.
Thank you. Other individuals who might wish to speak in favor of the application, please come forward. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to the application, please come to the podium. There apparently are no further speakers for this item this evening, so we will close public comment and proceed to our seeker review.
Yeah,
Maybe.
Yeah, we can do seeker tonight, but you cannot vote on the substantive item. Normally, this would have gone to the county for administrative approval, but for some reason, this application, when it went to the county, was scheduled to be heard by the full county planning board, and they have not done that yet. So we can
okay.
conduct seeker, you can either do it tonight or do it next time, but you cannot vote on the substantive item anyway. And this isn't one where there's another board going to act where we must do seeker. So that's totally in the commission's discretion.
Would the commission like to undertake the seeker review this evening and any subsequent action following the county action? I prefer to dispense with seeker this evening. If one less thing for a future agenda. So that being the case, would you?
Just to clarify for the public, it does say in the packet on page 255 that it has been reviewed by the county, but that is the hazard of cutting and pasting staff reports, and it has not yet been heard by the county. But we will proceed.
Our secrets have been revealed.
Yes, it happens occasionally, even with the absolute most vigilant staff in the world. All right, seeker, has everyone had a chance to review the short EAF Part 1?
Yes.
Is everyone familiar with the questions of the short EAF Part 2?
Yes.
Do you believe this project, which is the re-subdivision only, will have any moderate to large impacts?
No.
Because you do not believe there will be any moderate to large impacts, I recommend you vote to issue a negative declaration under seeker and to complete the EAF Part 3 accordingly.
Thank you. Is there such a seeker declaration motion?
I move to make a negative seeker declaration.
Thank you. Any discussion on the motion? If not, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? So the seeker review is finalized on this. We will not take up action until a subsequent meeting for the actual determination on the proposed re-subdivision for R2429. Okay.
Just to clarify, if there's any question, the hearing has been closed, we've taken seeker action, so the next meeting, we will only be voting on the action. There will not be any additional hearing for the comment.
Deliberating and voting.
I think that completes our public hearing schedule, but we still have additional business.
Yes, we have 4 3-mile limit reviews. The first one being in the town of Geddes, 3S-24-08. Engineering has signed off on this review.
Okay, the magic words I like to hear. Does anyone from the commission have any questions or concerns about this Geddes, Town of Geddes 3-mile limit case?
No questions.
If not, is there a motion to act upon this?
Move to approve it.
Discussion on the motion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Our next 3-mile limit case.
Next up is 3S-24-09, DeWitt. This 3-mile limit has also been reviewed by engineering.
Any questions from the commission members? Concerns? If not, a motion to act upon the DeWitt 3-mile limit case.
Move to approve the re-subdivision?
Second?
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Our third 3-mile limit case this evening.
Next one is 3S-24-10 in the town of Lafayette. This one has also received the okay from city engineering.
Thank you. Questions from the commission members or concerns? If not, a motion for action on the Lafayette 3-mile limit case.
Move approval.
Second?
Thank you both. Discussion? All in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? And our last 3-mile limit case for this evening.
Last one, 3S-24-11, 3-mile limit in the town of Salina. Again, city engineering has reviewed and has no issues with this.
Thank you. Questions from the commission members or concerns? If not, a motion for action on the Salina 3-mile limit case.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Any additional business to come before the commission tonight? No? Then a motion to adjourn would be in order.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Discussion, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? We are adjourned until June the 17th, I think. Okay, back to a Monday schedule. Thank you, everyone.